The first time Ethan met his new roommate, he didn't expect her to be 7 feet tall, blue-skinned and covered in faintly glowing freckles. The university's interspecies exchange program had sounded like a cool idea when he signed up. But now, standing in his small dorm room, he wasn't sure what he had agreed to. Her name was Sahari, from a planet called Talon 4. She had 2 sets of eyelids, silver eyes, and a voice that sounded like wind through glass. When she smiled, it wasn't threatening, it was oddly gentle. "This room is small," she said, tilting her head, "but cozy." Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. "Yeah, dorm life. Not much space for anyone, human or alien." Sahari stepped closer, studying his bed and the small cot the university had brought in for her. "You sleep on that?" she asked, pointing at the mattress. "Yeah," he said slowly. "That's a bed?" She nodded, but there was confusion in her eyes. Then after a moment she added softly, "On my world we do not sleep alone." Ethan blinked. "You don't?" "It is a tradition," she said. "We share warmth and dreams. It keeps the mind calm. To sleep alone is strange." He didn't know how to respond. This was his first alien roommate, and the cultural gap was wider than he'd imagined. "Well," he said carefully, "you'll get used to it. Different planet, different customs." But Sahari looked uncertain. Her silver eyes dimmed a little. "I will try," she said quietly. The first few weeks were awkward. Sahari was polite, quiet, and incredibly curious. She asked questions about everything: why humans covered their feet, why they drank something called coffee, and why they used doors instead of energy curtains. Ethan found himself laughing more than he expected. Despite her size, she was graceful and careful, always making sure not to break anything. At night, though, he noticed something strange. Every time he woke up for water or checked his messages, he would see Sahari sitting upright on her cot, eyes open but distant, like she wasn't really there. Her skin would pulse softly, the glowing freckles shifting colors like slow-moving stars. One night, unable to ignore it anymore, he asked, "Sahari, are you okay?" She blinked and seemed to return to herself. "I am fine." "You don't look fine," Ethan said gently. "You haven't slept in days." Her gaze dropped. "It is difficult, without the presence of another mind near mine. The silence is heavy. My people connect through shared sleep. It is how we heal." Ethan frowned. "Heal from what?" "From the noise of the day," she said simply. From the loneliness. He didn't know what to say. It wasn't something he could relate to, but he could feel her exhaustion. "Is there something I can do to help?" She hesitated. "It is strange to ask, but may I rest near you?" "I will not disturb." Ethan's eyes widened. "You mean share the bed?" "Yes, it is our tradition. It brings calm." For a moment he wanted to refuse. The idea felt awkward, maybe even a bit too personal. But then he looked at her. Her shoulders drooped, her face pale, her glow dimmer than ever. "All right," he said softly. "Just for tonight." The bed was barely big enough for one human, much less one tall alien, but somehow they managed. Sahari lay on one side, keeping her distance, her movements careful. Ethan stayed stiff at first, unsure what to do. But after a few minutes, he heard her breathing slow. Her glowing freckles shifted from dull blue to a warm golden hue. And then something incredible happened. He felt calm. It wasn't just comfort. It was as if a gentle warmth filled the air, like standing in sunlight after a cold rain. The room seemed quieter, the night less lonely. For the first time since college started, Ethan fell asleep without overthinking. When he woke, it was morning. Sahari was still there, eyes closed, breathing steady. Her glow was soft and bright now, like dawn light on water. She looked peaceful. No pain, no sadness. Ethan got up quietly, trying not to wake her. But as he moved, her eyes opened. "You slept well," she said softly. "Yeah," he admitted. "Better than I have in weeks." She smiled, her silver eyes warm. Then the sharing helped us both. The next nights passed easier. What began as a strange cultural request slowly turned into something familiar. Sahari slept deeply now, no longer trembling or waking with faint cries. Ethan felt more rested too, though he couldn't explain why. The others in the dorm noticed their odd arrangement, of course. Whispers followed them down the hall. "The alien sleeps with her human roommate," one voice said. "Weird tradition," another muttered. But Ethan didn't care much. He saw the difference in Sahari, how she laughed more, how her glow brightened when she studied Earth's skies. Still, something troubled him. One evening, as they sat by the window watching the twin moons rise, Earth's moon and the pale disk of Talon 4's satellite projected for her comfort, he asked, "Sahri, when you first came here, you said sleeping alone hurt. What did you mean by that?" She hesitated, then touched her chest lightly where faint blue veins glowed under her skin. "When we are alone for too long, our energy fades. We are creatures of connection. We survive by sharing presence. On my world, no one sleeps without another nearby. When I came here, I thought I could adapt. I was wrong." Ethan felt a twist in his chest. "You could have told me sooner." "I did not wish to burden you," she said quietly. "Humans value privacy. I tried to respect that." He shook his head. "Sometimes you don't have to adapt to pain." Her gaze softened. "Then I am grateful to you, Ethan. You shared warmth when I needed it most." That night she looked weaker again. Her glow had dimmed during the day and she moved slower, her breathing shallow. Ethan grew worried. "Sahari, are you sick?" She shook her head faintly. "It is not sickness. It is distance. My body feels too far from home." Ethan didn't fully understand, but he helped her to bed. When she lay beside him, he could feel a faint tremor in her arm. He wanted to ask more, but she whispered, "Please, just stay." He did. The glow around her flickered weakly, then brightened as her breathing steadied. Ethan stayed awake, watching the light play across the ceiling until he too drifted into a deep sleep. In the morning, he found Sahri already awake. She sat by the window holding a small crystal pendant that shimmered faintly in the sun. "What's that?" Ethan asked, stretching. "It holds memories from my home," she said. "My family, my sky, my sea. When I feel far, I look into it and remember who I am." She turned to him, her eyes soft. "But last night I did not need it." Ethan smiled faintly. "Guess I did something right." Sahari tilted her head. "You shared presence. That is the greatest kindness among my people," he chuckled. "Guess I'm learning Talon culture faster than I thought." But deep down, Ethan knew something more had changed. This wasn't just about cultural exchange anymore. It was about understanding something deeply human. The need to connect, to care, to share warmth when someone else was cold. That evening, as the stars filled the sky, Sahari whispered something new. "There is a reason our kind began this tradition," she said softly. "It is not just comfort. It is protection." "Protection?" Ethan asked. She nodded, her eyes distant. "There are things that move between dreams. When one sleeps alone, they come closer." Ethan frowned. "What kind of things?" But Sahari didn't answer right away. Her glow dimmed again and a shiver ran down her arm. "Tomorrow," she said finally. "I will explain tomorrow." And as Ethan turned off the lights, he noticed something just for a moment out of the corner of his eye. A faint shadow rippled across the wall even though nothing had moved. He glanced at Sahari, but she was already asleep, her glow bright and golden again. Still, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that something unseen was watching them in the dark. Ethan woke before sunrise, heart racing. He had dreamed something strange, something dark. He couldn't remember it clearly, but he knew it involved shadows and whispering voices. For a moment he sat up, confused, the dim morning light spilling into the small dorm room. Sahari was still sleeping beside him, her glow soft and golden, her breathing calm. But as he looked closer, he noticed faint marks along her arm, thin lines of darker blue like veins of shadow beneath her skin. He reached out carefully. "Sahari," he whispered. "Hey, wake up." Her eyes opened slowly, the silver color hazy and distant. For a moment she didn't seem to recognize him. Then as her gaze focused, she exhaled and sat up weakly. "You saw it," she said quietly. "Saw what?" Ethan asked. "The shadow between dreams." Ethan frowned. "That's what you mentioned last night." "What is it?" Sahari rubbed her temples, her expression tense. "Our ancestors believed the void between thoughts is alive. When minds grow lonely, when sleep is empty, it enters. It feeds on isolation." Ethan stared at her. "Are you saying it's real? Some kind of creature?" She looked at him sadly. "You humans think of dreams as imagination. For us, dreams are connections. When we dream together, we protect each other. When we dream alone, we open the door." He felt a chill crawl down his neck. "You mean this shadow thing was trying to get in?" She nodded slowly. "It touched me last night. That is why I was in pain before I came here. It followed me across the stars." Ethan's stomach tightened. "So this thing came from your planet?" "It is older than my world," Sahari said softly. It drifts between sleeping minds. My people learned to resist it by sharing rest, by joining dreams. That is our tradition. When I came to Earth, I thought it could not find me here. I was wrong. Ethan rubbed his face. Okay, suppose I believe you. What do we do? Sahari looked out the window, where the early morning light touched the glass. We stay connected. You and I. The shadow cannot take form when two minds share one dream. Ethan wasn't sure what that meant, but he could see the fear behind her calm voice. He nodded. Then we'll face it together. Days passed quietly at first. Sahari returned to her studies, learning about human art and biology, and Ethan tried to act like everything was normal. Yet something was changing. Each night their shared dreams grew clearer, more vivid. He saw flashes of Talon, wide oceans of liquid light, forests that sang when the wind passed through, and towers made of crystal that shone brighter than any city. Sahari guided him through these dreams like a patient teacher. This is memory space, she explained. Our minds create it when we rest. Now you are part of it too. Ethan was amazed, even comforted, but sometimes when he looked past the glowing horizon of her dream world, he saw movement, something dark flickering at the edges, watching them. What's that? He asked one night. Sahari turned toward the shadow and frowned. It waits. It cannot enter when we are together, but it remembers the paths we take. Ethan swallowed hard. Can it hurt us here? Only if we break the link, she said. Only if one wakes before the other. The warning stayed with him. After that, Ethan was careful never to wake first. He waited each morning until Sahari stirred, her glow warming the dim room like sunlight. She always smiled faintly, grateful, though he could see she was getting weaker. The dark marks on her arm were spreading. One afternoon after class, Ethan found her sitting by the window again, staring at her pendant. Her glow was faint, her silver eyes tired. You're not doing well, he said. You should see the medical center. It would not help, she murmured. Your doctors do not understand this kind of sickness. He sat beside her, frowning. Then help me understand. Sahari turned toward him. The shadow does not hurt the body first, it takes the dream light, the energy that keeps us balanced. I can hold it back when I am close to you, but I feel it pressing harder every night. Ethan clenched his fists. There has to be something we can do. Can we fight it? She hesitated. Perhaps, but it means going deeper, facing it in the dream itself. He looked at her sharply. You mean, go into the dream and fight it there? Yes, together, but it is dangerous. If one of us wakes too soon, the other may be lost. Ethan hesitated, but the fear in her eyes made his decision easy. Then we do it. Whatever it takes. Sahari's expression softened. You are brave for a human. Guess I'm just tired of seeing my friend hurt. At that, she smiled faintly. Then tonight we try. That night they prepared. Sahari placed the glowing pendant between them on the bed. It will help guide us, she said. Hold it when you dream. Ethan nodded, closing his eyes beside her. See you in there. The world faded. When he opened his eyes again, they stood beneath a silver sky, surrounded by the vast luminous sea of Talon. The water shimmered like glass, reflecting stars that didn't belong to Earth. Sahari stood beside him, glowing brighter here, her strength restored. This is the deep dream, she said. Here, thoughts take form. Ethan looked around, amazed. It's beautiful, she smiled briefly. Do not be distracted. It will come soon. As if summoned by her words, the sky darkened. The light of the ocean began to fade. A chill wind swept across the water and a shape rose from the horizon, a vast silhouette shifting like smoke and shadow. Ethan felt his heart pound. That's it, isn't it? Yes, Sahari whispered. The shadow between dreams. It moved without sound, gliding closer. Where it passed, stars went out. Its voice was not words, but a feeling. Cold, empty hunger. You are alone, it whispered into their minds. You do not belong together. Ethan clenched his fists. Ignore it, Sahari's glow flickered. It is trying to divide us. It feeds on separation. The shadow grew larger, rising above them like a wave. Ethan could feel it pressing against his thoughts, trying to fill him with doubt and fear. For a moment he saw flashes of loneliness. His empty room before Sahari came, the quiet nights of study and exhaustion. The creature was using his own memories against him. He reached for Sahari's hand. You're not alone, he said firmly. Neither of us are. Their fingers touched and light flared between them. The air trembled. The darkness recoiled slightly, hissing in silent rage. Sahari's voice rose above the wind. "Hold on to the link." The creature surged again, slamming against their joined hands, trying to tear them apart. Ethan gritted his teeth, feeling pain and pressure in his head. "It's strong." "So are we," Sahari cried. Her glow expanded, wrapping around them both in a sphere of golden light. The ocean beneath them turned bright again, waves of energy rippling outward. The shadow shrieked, a sound without sound, a ripple of cold fury, and began to unravel. For a moment, Ethan thought they were winning, but then the world shattered. Ethan woke with a gasp, sitting upright in bed. His heart raced, sweat covering his face. He looked around frantically. He was back in the dorm room. The pendant still glowed faintly on the bed. "Sahari," he called. No answer. He turned and saw her lying motionless beside him, her glow almost gone. "Sahari." He shook her gently, panic rising. "Wake up!" Her eyes fluttered open slowly. "Ethan!" He exhaled in relief. "You scared me," she smiled weakly. "You woke too soon. What happened?" he asked. The shadow broke the link. "But you held long enough to wound it. It will not come again soon." He nodded shakily. "You almost didn't wake up." Her silver eyes softened. "You risked your mind for me. Few humans would." Ethan gave a tired laugh. "Guess that's our tradition now." Sahari smiled, faint but real. Her glow brightened slightly, spreading warm light across the room. "Then it is a good one." In the days that followed, she recovered slowly. The marks on her skin faded, her glow steady once more. They no longer needed to share the bed every night, but sometimes on quiet evenings when the shadows grew long, Sahari would glance at him and smile. "The link remains," she would say softly, "even awake." And Ethan would nod, remembering the dream sea, the shared courage, and the truth they had both learned, that no matter the species, no one should face the dark alone. Weeks passed since the battle in the dream world. The days grew peaceful again. Sahari was smiling more, her glow bright and strong. She attended her classes, laughed at small things, and even began to try human food, though she still didn't understand why humans called bread toast after burning it. Ethan was relieved. The strange shadow creature had vanished, and his nights were quiet now. Sometimes when he closed his eyes, he still saw the shimmering seas of Talon, but there was no fear, only calm. He had begun to think that the worst was over. But one evening, Sahari returned from the research lab looking worried. Ethan noticed it right away. "What's wrong?" he asked. She hesitated before answering. "The scientists from the exchange program scanned our neural energy. They say there is something inside my mind that they cannot identify." Ethan frowned. "You mean the shadow?" "Not exactly," she said softly. "It feels different. It does not feed on fear. It listens." He felt uneasy. "Listens to what?" "To us," she whispered. "To the bond we created." That night Ethan couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about what she said. The bond between them had saved them both, but what if something else had awakened because of it? Around midnight he turned toward Sahari. She was awake too, sitting cross-legged on the bed, her glowing freckles flickering like tiny stars. "You feel it too, don't you?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "Yes, there is a presence, not hostile, but searching." Ethan rubbed his eyes. "You think it's still from that shadow world?" "No, it feels familiar. It feels like home." Her voice trembled slightly. Ethan saw her hands shaking. "Maybe it's your family reaching out?" he suggested, but she shook her head. "No, this is not Talon energy. This is older, deeper." Suddenly, the pendant on her chest glowed brighter, lighting up the whole room. Sahari gasped, clutching it. The light expanded until it filled every corner, and for a heartbeat, Ethan couldn't see anything but gold. When the light faded, they were no longer in their room. They stood in a vast field of silver grass under a dark violet sky. The stars above were unfamiliar, brighter than Earth's. The air shimmered, carrying the scent of salt and energy. Ethan turned slowly. "Are we dreaming?" Sahari shook her head in awe. "No. This is between dreams, a place of echoes. Only strong connections can open it." Ethan felt the ground hum faintly under his feet. "Then what are we doing here?" Before she could answer, a tall figure appeared on the horizon. It moved gracefully, almost floating. As it came closer, Ethan realized it looked like Sahari, but older, more luminous. Her skin glowed like starlight, her eyes bright as twin suns. Sahari froze. It cannot be. The figure smiled. My child, she said, her voice like a calm melody. You survived. Mother? Sahari whispered, her voice breaking. You are alive? The figure nodded. Barely. The shadow destroyed many of us before we could seal it away. But when you formed a bond with the human, we felt the echo. It guided me here. Ethan stood speechless. He felt small in front of the glowing being. You're from Talon? Yes, she said, turning to him. You are the one who shared your presence. You gave her strength when she had none. Ethan shrugged awkwardly. I just didn't want her to be alone. The elder smiled faintly. That is why your kind are special. Humans feel connection not as duty but as instinct. You bind yourselves even across stars. Sahari looked at her mother with tears in her eyes. The shadow, it followed me here. I know, her mother said softly. And though you wounded it, its essence remains. It hides within the link between your minds. It cannot attack, but it waits, Ethan tensed. So it's not over. No, the elder said. But there is a way to end it. One final merging, Sahari frowned. Merging? The elder nodded. Your bond with this human has already created something new, a bridge between species. If you open it fully, your combined energy can seal the shadow forever. But it will not be easy. You will share everything, thoughts, fears, memories. You may never be fully apart again. Ethan hesitated, glancing at Sahari. That sounds permanent. She looked at him quietly, her silver eyes uncertain. It must be your choice too. He took a deep breath. If it keeps you safe, then yes. Let's do it, her mother smiled sadly. Then be ready. The sky darkened again. The silver grass turned black and the air grew heavy. The shadow rose from the horizon like a storm, larger than before, swirling with shapes and faces. It roared without sound, its voice echoing in their minds. You cannot end what has no beginning. Ethan stepped forward, heart pounding. Maybe not alone. But together, yeah, we can. Sahari reached out, taking his hand. Their palms met and their glow merged, blue and gold weaving into bright white light. Her mother raised her hands, chanting in a low, musical tone. The field trembled. Energy surged around them like a living wind. The shadow screamed and lunged forward. Darkness struck their barrier, shaking the ground. Ethan felt pain flash through his chest, fear, anger, loneliness, all crashing at once. He almost let go. Ethan! Sahari shouted. Hold on! He forced his eyes open. Not letting go! Their light blazed brighter. Sahari's voice echoed in his mind, not as words, but as emotion. Trust me, he did. Their thoughts merged, memories blending together. He saw her childhood on Talon, swimming in oceans of light, holding her mother's hand under glowing trees. She saw his memories too, earth skies, city lights, laughter with friends. Their hearts beat as one rhythm. The light pulsed outward, tearing through the shadow's form. The darkness screamed again, splintering into countless shards. The sky cracked open, and for a moment the stars themselves seemed to sing. Then, silence. The field faded. Ethan woke up gasping. He was in his dorm bed again. Morning light streamed through the window. For a moment he thought it had all been a dream, but Sahari was there, sitting beside him, glowing softly. Her silver eyes looked different now, warmer, brighter. Did we? He began. She nodded. The shadow is gone. The link sealed it. He rubbed his eyes. And you? Are you okay? She smiled. Better than ever. The pain is gone. The silence, too. He sighed in relief. Good. Because I was really starting to think I'd need to fight cosmic monsters every semester. She tilted her head, amused. Perhaps only once per lifetime. They laughed quietly, the tension fading. But then Ethan noticed something. The glow around her fingertips shimmered faintly, and for a brief second his own hand glowed too. He blinked. Is that normal? Sahari's expression softened. The merge left traces. Our energy still touches. You may feel what I feel sometimes. Ethan chuckled nervously. So like emotional Wi-Fi? She looked puzzled. Fi? Never mind, he said with a grin. Just glad you're okay. Weeks passed and life returned to normal. Or as normal as it could be when your alien roommate shared a psychic bond with you. Sahari became something of a celebrity on campus. Students often came to her for advice or stories from her world. She always spoke kindly but never mentioned the shadow. Some things, Ethan realized, were better left between dreamers. One night, as they sat by the window watching Earth's moon, she said quietly, "Do you ever miss the dream sea?" Ethan nodded. "Sometimes. It was beautiful. We could visit again," she said softly. "Not out of fear, but out of peace," he smiled. "I'd like that." Later that night, as they drifted to sleep, Ethan felt a faint warmth in the air, a pulse that wasn't his own. He opened his eyes slightly and saw Sahari glowing faintly beside him. Her breathing was calm, her expression peaceful. For the first time, he realized something simple but powerful. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology, or courage, or even intelligence. It was empathy, the ability to reach across distance, across fear, and share light with another being. Sahari stirred slightly and whispered in her sleep, "You're never alone, Ethan." He smiled in the dark. "Neither are you." Outside, the stars shone brighter than usual, as if watching two small lives that had crossed the vastness of space and found something worth saving.